Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. And what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about housekeeping and we're going to introduce our sponsors. So if you'll put your screen down uh, and let's take a look at the sponsors for today. I'm Peggy West. I'm the organizer of the event. And I just want to talk a little bit about when you need an engineer. This is an excellent topic. I've had people ask me for this topic for a long time, and I finally came across our guest speaker today is Voto from Socotec to give this topic, give this speech on this topic. So we do have Masi today. We also have Michelle Diaz on today from Socotec. She's going to be your moderator for today. And then we also have General Counsel on today, Stephen Rappaport. Stephen is with Sachs, and Caplan. All right, so let's get started. Just some housekeeping. Please put your questions into the Q&A, not the chat box, please. The chat box, the sponsors will be putting in their contact information, but you will also be receiving after the webinar a sponsor sheet. And on that sponsor sheet, we'll have everybody's logo, their company name, contact information, which is their phone and their email. So look for that following the webinar. Another thing is managers, please allow 2 weeks for these credits to be posted by Socotec. We do have other things going on, and what will take a day or two to get posted, uploaded to DBBR, will get posted within a couple of weeks. So hold back on that. This is not a board member certification class, so there are no certifications to board members, but I'm so glad to have you today because, along the side of your manager, managing your property, it's great to have all this information. So kudos to you for being on today. With that said, I want to introduce our sponsors. I'm going to start today with Munyon Construction. We have Shawnee Haas. Is she on today? I don't see Shawnee. Munyon is a statewide general contractor as well as a painting and waterproofing company. So her name and the contact information will be on the sponsor sheet. I also want to introduce COA Solutions. Daniel Baum is not on today. He had another engagement. Daniel is a broker. He is based out of West Palm Beach, but he does cover the state. And he is all about condos and HOA insurance. So I know right now a lot of you are shopping. Find his name again on the sponsor sheet. Next, we have our First Citizens Bank. We have Jamie Gelfand on. Hi, Jamie. Tell us about yourself and what you're doing over there at First Citizens.
Good morning, Peggy. Thanks for inviting me today. My name is Jamie Gelfand. I'm the Regional Sales Officer at First Citizens Bank. First Citizens is a 120-year-old top 20 bank. I work in the CAB, Community Association Banking Division, where we provide lockbox through API integrations to over 20 software and loans for any of your projects that you're working on authorized under the declaration of the association. We do not require you to move your entire banking relationship. So if you're with a management company or self-managed and have your lockbox at a financial institution, you can stay there and still we can service your loan request. We are very competitive and enjoy this class. It's going to be very helpful.
Great. Thank you so much. Jamie will also be on that sponsor sheet. Next, I want to introduce Barrett Roofing Company. We have Amanda on today. Amanda, tell us about yourself and what you're doing at your company.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Curielli. I have the state of Florida. I am the Florida Territory Rep. We manufacture waterproofing materials. We specialize in hot, cold deck coatings, vehicular, and PMMAs, all Miami-Dade approved through the NOA process. So if you have
Awesome.
any materials needed, you can call me for that.
Awesome. Okay, great. I didn't realize you're a manufacturer. I'll have to get your name out to some of the other roofers I know. Okay, today also we have the pool scientists on. Ricardo, tell us about yourself and what your company does.
Good morning, everyone. So, my name is Ricardo Galeano. I am the founder of the Pool Scientist. We are a certified pool and spa contractor, certified pool and pool inspector. One of the things that I want to remark today is that we care deeply about the communities and public space you live. So your pool, whether it's a HOA, a condo, a multifamily community, or a facility, even like the YMCA, which is one of our representative customers today, uh, it's a place where families gather and enjoy themselves. But too often, we found that managers and board members are left without clear answers about water quality, equipment health. When you just go to pump room and you see just a lot of raw compliance. Just to give you an idea, just in Palm Beach County, 15% of the all the public pools, like which counts HOA condos and multifamilies, are closed for any violation code, and people just have to go through the problem to open it up, fix the problem, but they don't know what's happening really because they pay for something. So that uncertain creates a lot of stress for you, complaints, and unnecessary risk. So we truly believe that you deserve clarity, not guesswork. That's why we provide a complete pool solutions approach. So people always think, oh, this is a pool guy, a pool service company. No, we are a pool solutions company. So we do certified inspections. We manage water chemistry management, a professional service and repairs. When I say professional, it's because all of our employees are full-time employees with certified pool operation certifications. And all of this is specifically designed for public pools where HOA's content and multifamilies fell in this size. So our invitation today is super simple. Allow us to perform a certified comprehensive inspection at no cost. We will be happy to do it. We will give you the data and clear plan to protect your pool. That's what we want to do. Your community will be elevated talking about pools and the swimmer satisfaction because you are going to be able to build a plan. We are here to serve you and the public space you, the family depend on you, and thank you guys. But one more thing. We are going to be next week in the Palm Beach Condo and Expo show in the booth number 6. So it just you show up, we are gonna meet. I will have equipment, what we do, and you are gonna be able to understand more about our company. So thank you everyone, and happy to be here. Thank you. Enjoy the class.
Okay. Thank you, Ricardo. Awesome. So Ricardo's a new sponsor for me, and I just want to say that he comes highly certified. This is something that is not being offered by many of the pool companies out there. They're just basically doing pool service and cleaning your filters, etc. So give them a shot if you have a question at all technical that you need answered for your community. Next, I want to mention Faster IO. This is a streaming service company, and Bob Aleka is actually on an appointment from appointment he got from a previous webinar. So if anybody needs any new bids, I know this is bidding season for anything to do with cable or streaming, please give Bob a call. Next, I want to introduce Clarkson and Varick. We have Damaris Cabrera on. Damaris, tell us about yourself and what you're doing for the company.
Good morning, Peggy. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Damaris Cabrera. I'm the Business Development Manager for Clarkson and Varick. We are an independent national elevator consulting firm. We work directly with the owners. We are not contractors. We don't perform service. We're 100% consultants. And our job is to protect and support the ownership and the property managers. We provide unbiased oversight over whether it's reviewing the maintenance performance of the elevator maintenance company, managing the modernization project, reviewing and facilitating new contracts when the time is up for a renewal, evaluating the equipment to find the best fit on the contractor on the service side, and many times also to serve as the mediator. Sometimes in the changes, especially in the condo world, a board makes a decision based on price, on the economy, lower contact with less coverage. Then the board changes, and then the new board is dealing with a situation that they don't understand. They just don't see that the companies are not performing. And sometimes is that when we come to breach that communication and give better elements and educate the owner so they can be in the position to make educated decisions. So I will put my contact in the chat, and if you need anything, any questions, please reach out. The elevator is a very complex asset and is very expensive overall, not only the maintenance contract, but when the replacement comes. And there is a code change that is going to be triggering that modernization that everybody's so afraid of and is so expensive for many of our properties in Florida. So please reach out if you have any questions. We can also guide you. No commitment. Thank you very much. Thank you, Peggy.
Okay, Damaris, very good. Thank you. And with hurricane season around the corner, it's a great time to get inspected. So call Damaris. Okay, next I want to do an introduction for Southwest Elevators. Now, this is a company that actually does the installation. This is the hands-on people for the elevators. Apparently, they have another commitment, but these two kind of work hand in hand. So reach out to Brooke Cavender on that on the sheet. Next, I want to introduce Dylan Pena. Dylan, you've been so patient there with PD Concrete. Dylan, tell us about yourself and what you guys are doing over there. I know you're busy.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peggy, for the introduction. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy February. So my name is Dylan Pena. I'm the business developer for PD Concrete Specialists. We've been in business for well over 20 years now, serving South Florida. And most importantly, we specialize in concrete restoration, waterproofing, and post-tension cable repair. We also assist with the 40, 50, 60-year recertification process to ensure your property remains compliant and safe. One thing that does set us apart, though, is that we do not use subcontractors. We only use our in-house team for all of our repair work to ensure accountability and quality work for every step of the way. Lastly, though, we operate out of 2 offices, with one in Aventura and one in West Palm Beach. I'll be leaving my information in the chat box below, and you can feel free to contact me through there. Thank you very much, Peggy, for the introduction.
Okay, you're welcome. And I think you've been in business, over 20 years?
Yes.
So I think you know what you're doing there. You must have started when you're in kindergarten, right?
For that.
Okay. Next, I want to introduce Ben Friedman. He's from City Quiet Windows and Doors. I know everybody's taking bids now. It's a big time for construction. One of the reasons why we're having this class today, if you need anything or anything related to windows and doors, Ben has also been around for over 20 years, and he has 2 offices, East and West Coast. So next, I want to mention Kaiser Air Conditioning, based out of West Palm Beach, Florida. They're primarily covering the Martin and the Palm Beach County area. Have over 100 trucks out there servicing, so any emergencies you have, and they are available 24/7, 365. So always available and ready to help you out. They also do a lot of HVAC work as well. Next, I want to mention the paving lady. Dawn Miller is the contact there. Dawn has been around for a very long time in the paving industry. Her owner has also been around over 30 years that I know of in the paving business. So very experienced company. Take bids. They're very competitive, and I highly recommend them. Next, we have Hafer Company. Hafer is a full-service CPA firm. They are doing auditing, compilations, etc. So if you need someone for a CPA firm to take a look at what you're doing, you're not quite happy with who you have even, give a call to Nicole Johnson Pendergrass. Next, I want to mention Velocity Services Group. This is a large loss restoration firm. Velocity is all over the state of Florida and very handy when there is a huge catastrophe, which, knock on wood, we haven't had this past 2025, but hurricane season's ahead, so make note, keep his name and number on file. It's Rick Hogan. Next, I want to mention I have a website out there, maybe to help you find some news sources, vendors connected with board members and CAMs. It's flcondovendorsforyou.com. I highly recommend you take a look at that. And lastly, but not least, the wind beneath my wings is Vinteum software. I want to acknowledge Julia. She does everything. If you'll give a quick wave, Julia, and then I'm going to turn this over to Laura. Laura is the international rep. So welcome, Laura. Tell us about yourself and about these websites that everybody needs.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much, Peggy. I'm Laura. I'm the sales executive here at Vinteum. So here at Vinteum, what we do is that we provide services and software and basically the platforms that all communities, such as HOA, condominiums, cooperatives, and also property management will need for their communities. So here we would build the website that you all, what most communities need nowadays in Florida to be compliant. We would also provide a really, structured and organized platform for you guys to be able to manage these communities in a way faster and easiest and organized way. Not only that, but we would also make sure to train you as administrators or board members, as well as you residents, to know how to navigate at the platform, how to navigate our system. After that, we will provide ongoing support. So we really go, hand to hand with all of you and with our current customers as well, especially in Florida. We have a really good community. Thanks to Peggy, thanks to all of the vendors, and obviously to our community. So if you guys are still maybe looking for that website builder, that platform, where to storage your documents, where to hold your board meetings and have all those recordings organized and set up, and you also want someone that you can trust your community with, this is what Vinteum works for. So we will send you our information on the chat, and we'll be more than happy to help you all with that, okay? Thank you.
Sounds good. All right. And the last thing I want to mention is they are having a special webinar on February 24th. They're going to do a intro about Vinteum, but they're also going to do a demo of websites in general, and it's going to tell you how easy it is. So don't be afraid to take on a website and be in compliance, okay? Now, with that, I'm going to turn this over to our moderator today, Michelle Diaz. She's with Socotec. She is the business developer. And then the presentation will go forward with our speaker today, Masi. Michelle, you want to take it from here?
Of course. Good morning, everybody. I am Michelle Diaz. I'm the business developer for Socotec. Socotec's a global engineering firm, testing, inspection, and consulting. We specialize in safety and performance and sustainability of buildings and infrastructure, being new buildings or existing buildings. And especially for board members, it would be your special support by acting as an independent or a trusted advisor throughout different complex projects. And we do it through owners' project management services. We help protect your budgets, your schedules, the quality, by coordinating different consultants. We monitor construction, we help manage your risk, and we try to help you ensure compliance at every phase as well. So our role is to simplify your decision-making for the board, provide clear oversight, and help your projects move forward smoothly while we protect the long-term value of your asset. That's in the short. That's us. So Massimiliano Voto is one of our engineers, special inspectors as well, registered architect, and he will be providing the course for today on how to identify when we actually need an engineer.
Okay, can I go?
Go ahead.
All right, so let me share the screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Massi Voto. I'm a professional engineer in the state of New York. I'm a registered architect in the state of Florida, and I am a threshold inspector in the state of Florida. I'm a senior associate with Socotec Consulting, and this is 1 hour CEU class. Okay, so let's move forward. 1 second.
Also, to let everybody know that we are going to be having more of an interactive presentation, so feel free to put your questions in to the Q&A box, not the chat box, the Q&A box, and we will be interacting directly with Masi in any point given, so feel free.
Okay, so I'll go to the next slide. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how to hide these things here. Okay, all right, so I'll figure this out later. Okay, so When do you need an engineer? Basically, here we're referring to the Florida legislator that determined that you need an engineer for public health, life, property, and safety to regulate the practice of engineering in the state of Florida. So the legislator created Chapter 471, as provided by this law, the Florida Board of Engineers is responsible for reviewing application, licensing qualified applicants. So there is a board in Florida, board of professional engineers, as well as a board of registered architects. I like to point out that in the restoration business for existing buildings, architects and engineers are basically equivalent. As a matter of fact, I am a registered architect, but I'm also a threshold inspector. And threshold inspector basically is the inspector that does special inspection or structural inspections for buildings over 3 stories, right? So let's go through some definitions. What is an engineer record? What is a prime professional? Delegated engineer, engineering documents. What is delegated engineering documents? What is public records? Engineering documents prepared, shop drawings, and record documents. Okay, engineer record is basically or architectural record is basically the Florida P or RA who is responsible for the preparation of the drawings. So basically, let's say I have a project in Fort Lauderdale, I prepare the plans, I sign and seal the plans, so I am the AOR, the architect of record, or if there's a PE, is going to be the EOR, so the engineer of record that signs and seals the drawings. Who's the prime professional? The prime professional is the company that I work with, right? So a qualified engineering corporation or partnership. In this case, if it's me, then the company is going to be Socotec. Who's the delegated engineer? You will need a delegated engineer when you take over specialty services. For example, I have a restoration, a concrete restoration project in Palm Beach, and I need a mechanical engineer. I'm not a mechanical engineer, so I will delegate an engineer to a mechanical engineer to provide mechanical services. Engineering documents are design, plans, specification, drawings, print, reports, or similar tool or services. So basically, construction documents. Delegated engineering company documents are instead the documents are prepared by the delegated engineer. In this case, in the example I gave you before, it would be the mechanical engineer. Public record. So basically, everything we do when we sign and seal, they go to the authority having is recorded under the authority having jurisdiction. And number 7, engineering documents basically are public records. So anybody can access these documents. Some cities and counties, they'll give it to you for free. You just go to the website and order these drawings, but most municipalities require a fee. Shop drawings are basically, one second, sorry. I need to close this. Okay. Shop drawings are drawings depicting installation means and methods. Means that, let's say I'm doing a concrete restoration and I have some windows that needs to be replaced, right? So the contractor will provide shop drawings for the replacement of the windows and the means and methods to replace those windows. And then record documents basically are the so-called as-built documents. Basically, it's one thing the construction documents and one thing is the record documents, because the as-built may differ to the construction from the construction documents. Because during the construction, maybe a few things came up, few new items, few new repairs, and so the record documents show whatever has been done in detail. Okay, let's go to the next one. So engineering services typically include approved building design, building inspection, identify damage, reports, and compliance. So basically, this is a summary of what the engineering service is about. So approved building design. So basically, we prepare drawing construction documents. And upon the preparation of these documents, we go through building inspection. So basically, once the construction starts, we do inspections for quality assurance and quality control, the so-called QA/QC, that basically allows to ensure that the construction is done according to plans and according to the Florida code. During the inspection, we also identify damage. Let's say we may identify damage in addition to the damage already identified prior during the investigation phase prior to construction. And then once we perform this inspection, we prepare reports. These reports are basically a summary of the findings and are an information tool that is delivered to the client, because the client needs to know what's going on. And then compliance. So again, everything we do needs to comply with the design and needs to comply with the Florida Building Code. So now here, another service that engineers do is the structural integrity reserve study. So what is a structural integrity reserve study? Basically, probably everybody is aware of the reserve study itself, but in 2021, after the collapse here in Miami of the tower, they come up with a new document, which is a structural integrity reserve study. The main difference from the traditional reserve study that this study focuses mainly on the structural elements. So another big difference is that this study has to be funded. That you cannot waive the funding of this study. You have to, as a condominium association, you must fund this study, because you must maintain the building, the structural integrity of the building, because the state does not want to see another collapse. So what does it entail? It includes roofs, load-bearing walls, foundation, electrical and plumbing system, waterproofing, and fire protection systems. Let's go to the next. So now everything we do in Florida is subject to hurricane and high winds. So, for example, we have impact-resistant windows in Florida. We have a robust roof anchoring system. And so, again, when we do design structural elements, everything is tied to the high winds. And as a matter of fact, we have wind tables that we need to refer to, and every study is tied again to the high winds and hurricane. So here it's basically a slide that shows us that Florida has sandy soil issues, right? So the landscape is characterized by its sandy soils that present a challenge. Just want to tell you that the majority of high-rise condos in Florida are on piles because of the nature of the soil. What are piles? First of all, piles are deep. It's called deep foundation system. And so these are literally piles. They go into the sandy soil and they go down until they reach rock, because you want to make sure that your building is not going anywhere during a hurricane or it starts settling, right? Differential settlements. You don't want that. So the soil in Florida is not as strong. Therefore, the majority of buildings in Florida, the high-rise buildings, are on piles. Okay. Rising sea levels, that's another issue that we have in Florida. So infrastructure element above potential flood levels the infrastructure needs to be above flood levels. You cannot have for example, the majority of homes in Miami Beach, they're not on ground. They are like 3 feet above ground, because if you have floodings, if you have a special event, where water invades, basically, if there is a flooding, the Florida homes, the Miami homes have this so-called crawl space where the water is basically allowed to float under your slab and your house doesn't get damaged. And as a flood mitigation measures, aside from raising homes, we also construct seawalls and efficient drainage system, right? So because we have a lot of water and we need to direct the water into the right place so we avoid flooding. And the seawalls is basically a barrier. The higher the seawall, the safer you feel because the water is going to rise, yes, but you have a wall, you have a barrier in front of you. So it's not going to flood your home, it's not going to flood your condo. Okay, next, another typical challenge in South Florida is the moisture control. So since we have a lot of rain in Florida and our buildings are not technically 100% waterproof, we have a lot of water intrusion and water leaks and a lot of litigation that derives from these water leaks. As a matter of fact, this is one of one of our main tasks as engineers. We receive a lot of calls because people have water leaks. Obviously, this is very disturbing, and if untreated, then it's gonna turn into mold. And mold can grow as early as 3 days, right? If you have the right environment, in 3 days you're gonna start seeing mold. So definitely, water leaks needs to be mitigated and corrected as soon as possible. Okay, then we go to the reserve study. The reserve study is another, we mentioned it before. So the reserve study is the expanded version of the structural integrity reserve study because it includes the structural elements, but includes also non-structural elements, such as, for example, your hallways, your flooring, or painting of the hallways, or anything that is aesthetics and is not structural. The gym, for example. So the main difference between reserve study and structural reserve study is that the reserve study, the board can waive the funding for the reserve study, but in the structural integrity reserve study, there is no such option. You have to fund the building. You have to. So when we, as engineers, and I've done a lot of structural integrity reserve study, when we prepare this type of studies and also reserve study, first of all, we split it in two. So we clearly identify what is structural and what is non-structural. And then on the structural side, we also give you charts where is basically tell you how much, what is the funding requires to keep your building structurally sound. So structurally sound means that you keep your roof in good condition, you maintain the roof periodically, you paint your exterior facades are maintained properly, your stucco doesn't fall off. You paint the building every 7 to 10 years so that paint protects the facade. And you address any structural issues that you may encounter, some minor concrete spalling, because if you don't, these things will eventually, they do not cure themselves, right? So eventually from a small problem will become a big problem. Okay, so yeah, so we keep talking about the SEERs. So here we'll basically, it's under Florida Statute 718-112. And so, sorry. So basically, the deadline is was December 31st, 2024, but there was a lot of pushback, and actually they extended the deadline to December 31st, 2025, which is passed anyway. So now, what does that mean? Mean that you are supposed, as a condo president, condo board, or property manager, your structural integrity reserve study, you should have it on hand and deliver a copy to the DBPR, because the DBPR, if he's going to audit you, is not going. I see Michelle. Do you want to say something, Michelle?
Sorry, I raised my hand. There is a question.
Oh,
And
okay.
okay, so it says Socotec presentation lists electrical and plumbing systems as component to SIRS. Does this
Yeah.
include potable water distribution systems in buildings requiring SIRS a study reserve?
Okay, I'm not sure if I understand correctly, but electrical and plumbing are included. Therefore, potable water is part of the structural integrity reserve study. So what we do is, let's say, so the usual lifespan of a plumbing system is about 60 years. So if your potable system does not have, the piping system, sometimes you have metal instead of, okay, I cannot remember the name now. So yes, we do look at the plumbing system, and we do look at the maintenance records. And based upon your maintenance and based upon the age of your system, then we provide an expected remaining life, which means, let's say your building is 40 years old, right? So, and you haven't done anything to your plumbing system. Well, we're going to say that probably in 20 years, you're going to have to replace everything associated with the plumbing, with the potable water, or with the drainage system, which actually can be a big expense. It is a big expense. And so the SEERS, what does is, let's say it's in 20 years. So the SEERS is done, you must, as a board, as association, have a new SEERS every 10 years. However, the length of the study is 30 years, the standard length. So if your plumbing system only has 20 years life expectancy, we're going to put funds associated to the plumbing system, because we're going to say, hey, you in 20 years, you will need to replace your plumbing system. So you will need to put, let's say, as an association, $10,000 a month just for the plumbing system, because your plumbing system in 20 years may cost you millions, right? If it's a big condominium, it depends on how many units. So the structural integrity reserve study allows you to put funds aside in a sustainable manner. So basically, you put the funds now, and you have funds increasing in a reasonable manner. Reasonable means you don't have balloon payments. What is a balloon payment? A balloon payment is that if this year you pay $1, let's say $1 is too little. Let's say you pay $1,000. The next year you don't have to pay $2,000, because that is considered a balloon payment, since it is a 100% increase. Has to be an increase that is sustainable over time. So the next year, instead of $1,000, you're going to pay probably between 5 and 10%. So $1,050 or $1,100. Up until the time that your system needs to be replaced, 20 years from now, you will have the funds necessary to replace. I don't know if it answered the questions, but yes, you includes everything in the plumbing. Okay. All right. Here he says qualified SEERS providers. The SEERS must be conducted by a licensed engineer or architect, ensuring thorough evaluation and professional standards. And budget for repairs. We just talk about the budget. So basically, how we provide you this budget, right? So you do monthly payment, year payment, and we do not want to have balloon payments over time, because it's not sustainable. The payment has to be sustainable. Okay. Legal implication and penalties. So we all know that board members have a fiduciary duty to act in the best interest of the association and its owners. Financial penalties for non-compliance of building safety laws are stringent. As I mentioned, the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation, the DBPR, oversees compliance. So you need to file your structural integrity reserve study and holds the authority to impose fines, because if you don't file, they will eventually fine you, which can be substantial. The fine can be substantial, resulting in a considerable financial burden for non-compliant association. Non-compliant association may also face increased insurance premiums or difficulties in obtaining the coverage. That is a very important topic, because aside from DBPR, you have the more stringent element of insurance. The insurance is going to look at your 40 years, your milestone report, is going to look at your Sears, it's going to look at all these documents. And if they see that these documents are not in order, and if you don't comply to the finding of these documents, they're not going to renew your insurance premium, or they will increase your insurance premium drastically because they see an increased risk in insurance in your association. Okay, so
I have another question before you move forward. Replacing plumbing, does this mean the entirety of each unit or only the building itself?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Very good question. So the general rule is the vertical lines belong to the building, the horizontal lines belong to the unit owner. So it's like a tree. The trunk of the tree belongs to the condo, the branches belongs to the unit owner. So while we expect that the unit owner throughout the years change their pipes, right, from cast iron, whatever it is, to copper, we don't expect that the main lines, the main vertical lines, they might not be changed over time. So yes, the condo association is responsible only for the vertical pipes. Okay, so now we go to the milestone inspection for Florida condominiums. All right, so the milestone inspections are basically mandatory for each structure in Florida. And so for building 30 years of age and every 10 years thereafter, or 25 years of age and every 10 years thereafter, if the authority having jurisdiction set the requirement. What does that mean? It means that if your building is near the coast, it's probably 25 years, because it has the deterioration that your building is subject to being near the ocean is greater than a building that is inland. If the building CO was issued before 1992, the milestone shall be performed before the end of 2024. Okay, so basically, what does that mean? It means that any building built before, now we are in 2026, any building built before 1994, yes, needs to be, well, let's stick to this. 1992 had any building before 1992 up until 2024 has to have a milestone inspection. What is the purpose of the milestone inspection? So the milestone inspection is to determine if there is substantial structural deterioration that affects negatively a building general structural condition and integrity. Who does the milestone? Engineers and architects. So now every authority having jurisdiction has the report itself is pretty standard, but every authority having jurisdiction has different guidelines, slightly different. And for example, Miami-Dade is by far the strictest. And then Fort Lauderdale is also strict, but not as strict as Miami. And then other jurisdictions are less restrictive. I've done Miami, I've done Fort Lauderdale and Palm Beach. To my understanding, Palm Beach was the least restrictive, while Miami is by far the most restrictive. I'll give you a very quick example. In Miami, the milestone includes structural and electrical. And plus, if you have a 400 amps electrical panel, you have to do also thermal inspections. Plus, you have to do parking illumination inspection in Miami. In Fort Lauderdale, you have to do structural and electrical, but I believe you do not need thermal, and you do not need parking illumination. In Palm Beach, I believe you only need structural. This is what I remember from my last inspection. I may be wrong, but this is just to tell you that Miami-Dade is way stricter than any other county in South Florida. Also, to do a milestone, if let's say you are in Fort Lauderdale or in Miami, if your building is 3 stories, more than 3-story high, you cannot just hire any random engineer that has a PE or random architect that has an array, because the county will not accept the report. The engineer or architect needs to have a threshold inspector license. So you have to be to the next level. So basically, how do you get the license? You have to demonstrate to the county that you have experience in the field, right? That you're familiar with structures. And so there is a process that you need to follow, and then I'll give you the license. So again, Miami is very restricted. And I believe Fort Lauderdale too, you need the threshold. Other municipality, I don't believe you need the threshold license if it's higher than 3 stories. So these are basically the qualified milestone inspector providers, right? So either engineers or architects, and in Miami and Fort Lauderdale also threshold inspector on top of that. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. So what else do we have here? Okay. So we are talking still about the milestone inspections, implementation, and compliance. So how do you implement the milestone inspection? So basically, it's a list of the material findings and recommendations, a description of the manner the inspection was performed, an identification of all substantial structural deterioration and repair recommendations, a determination of whether unsafe conditions were identified, a recommendation for remedial repair of non-substantial structural deterioration damage, an identification of items requiring further inspections, a separate summary of findings, a signature and seal by an engineer or an architect. So what does that mean? Basically, what that means is you give them a list of findings. You give them a list of every single structural element that you found deficient, right? Then on top of that, and there is a lot. For example, in Miami-Dade, you have 6 pages of structural elements that you need to fill in and say for every single element, it's in bad shape, it's in okay shape, it's in fair shape, fair, bad, fair, it's poor, fair, and good. So you have this choice, and if you say fair or poor, you provide a description and you substantiate why it is fair or poor. If it's good, you may also provide a comment, say, yeah, the roof is in good condition because it was replaced last year. So you have 20 years from that, okay? And then, so basically whatever is deteriorated, then you have to provide some basic repair recommendations. So you say, yeah, you got some stalls, so so the recommendations will include some again, recommendation on how to fix this issue, a determination of whether it's an unsafe condition. Okay, this is a big deal, because if you say it's unsafe, then it's basically a huge red flag. So what we do is, as an engineer, as an architect, if we see an unsafe condition, we'll point this out immediately and needs to be addressed immediately. Because if you don't, if the board refuses to do so, we will be forced to write an unsafe report. And guess what? The city is going to come and it's going to issue an evacuation order, and you have to get out of your building, which is insanity, right? But just the worst case scenario. You do not want to have unsafe conditions in your building because you are basically digging your own grave. A recommendation for remedial repairs and non-substantial structural deterioration damage, we already talked about recommendation of repairs. Then an identification of items requiring further inspection. So the milestone is basically phase one, which is just visual. And then there is a phase two. If you see issues, then you say, you know what, we really need to go back and look at these things again. And we may need to do some probing, some destructive probing, because we need to study this issue better so we can come up with our final findings and final recommendations. And then at the end of the report, you need to sign and seal.
Masi,
okay.
We have a couple of questions.
Yes, I see.
So somebody commented saying great analogy, the tree to explain the different obligations for the associations versus the unit owners to replace the plumbing. So thank you. They're saying Fort Lauderdale requires thermal, but basically saying yes, Broward County requires infrared thermal inspections as part of the 40-year building certification process. Particularly,
is that a question?
I'm reading I think they're comments. So they're particularly for commercial and multifamily buildings with electrical systems operating at 400 amps or greater.
Yes,
these
inspections in Miami
must
it's 400 amps and greater. Yes.
Yes, these inspections must be conducted
Yeah.
by a certified level 2 or higher thermographer to detect electrical anomalies that pose fire hazards.
Yes, and I'm actually also a level 2 thermographer. So I do this inspection in conjunction with the electrical engineer.
Okay,
so,
I have another one.
Yeah,
I have two more.
Yeah, sure.
So Charles is asking, older buildings are facing replacement of major systems. These updates can include bringing systems up to code and may affect building structure. Often the vendor proposals consist of a list of parts plus labor. Can engineering firms provide consulting services to aid board members with understanding the scope of work involved and assist with them with those decisions?
Okay, so the scope of work, is that related to engineering work or non-engineering work?
That was
okay. So I'll cover both items. Okay, so engineers can act also as the owner eyes and ears, and so now going back to OPM, owner project manager. The owner project manager is basically your qualified counsel for anything related to the maintenance of your building. So if you hire an OPM or a owner rep or project manager, these are the different names, the project manager would be able to translate into plain English anything coming from a mechanical contractor or a mechanical engineer, or will be able to show you and explain to you bids from different contractors, whether it is structural, mechanical, elevator. Well, no, OPM doesn't really do, we don't do elevators, right? Or elevator is strictly elevator consultants. We don't do elevator consultancy. But anything else, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, and structural, a project manager would be able to provide you assistance. In terms of structural instead, which is concrete restoration and anything else related to the construction, the engineer will be able to provide, to be a bridge basically between the contractor and the owner. So the engineer will, during the construction, the so-called construction administration phase, will interact with the contractor and will prepare recommendations, reports, and basically translating everything that is being done in a manner that is easily understandable to the board of directors so that we can streamline the process. The engineer will review, approve, and recommend change orders, for example. The contractor may come up and say, hey, there is this unforeseen condition, we need more money. And I said, okay, what is that? Again, so he's going to have to explain to me why he needs more money, and then I'll think about it, and then I'll say, okay, this is reasonable. I will go back to the board and say, Mr. President, we have this issue. I recommend to approve this change order. Or I say, no, this guy is trying to be a little bit too smart. I don't think we need a change order for this, and then push back. You have another question, Michelle?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what's the question?
The information on the SIRS and milestone inspection is not easy to understand for people who are not engineers. Is the goal after getting these reports to send these out to bids by contractor?
Oh, very good question.
Is there some other next step?
Oh, that is a big next step. Because, okay, so let me explain to you. The SIRS is a report. SIRS is not these are not construction documents. So these are just basic recommendations, and you cannot use a SIRS and give it to a contractor and say, give me a price, because it's not going to help you, and it's going to create a big mess. So the next step, the proper step to do is, based on the SIRS, then you go out there, either you hire the same architect and engineer that prepared the SIRS to do construction documents, right? For the structural remedies, for the structural issues. And you may hire an electrical engineer to provide design drawings for the electrical issues, right? So for the SIRS, plumbing, you may need a plumbing engineer, but this is really like plumbing engineering. It's when you design a new plumbing system, but for existing buildings, it's really maintenance. So you might be able to use a plumber directly based upon the structural integrity reserve study. But as far as electrical and structural, you will need, for the structural, for sure, you will need an engineer. And for the electrical, if it's minor, let's say you have a few breakers that are burned, and we say in the electrical, we say, yeah, these breakers are burned, and a few conduits that are rusted, or some outlets that need to be changed. You don't need an engineer, right? So you hire the electrical contractor directly, and you show them the SIRS. But for the structural portion, let's say you have a roofing issue. Well, let me start with the facade and structural issue. 100%, you need an engineer or an architect to prepare construction documents. Roofing, it's 50-50. It depends. It depends on the complexity of your roof. If it's a rectangular roof, very simple, and your roof is falling apart, the life expectancy of your roof is 0, you may not need an engineer. If you have a trusted roofer, he will be able to replace the roof and provide and put a new roof system. If your roofing system is very intricate, they have different levels, it's a complex building with interconnecting elements. My recommendation is to have the engineer involved, because the engineer will act as a liaison, right? Again, will translate, will facilitate the communication and the interaction between the roofer and the board. So we'll make sure that things are done correctly, and these challenges that are represented by the complexity of your building are overcome in the best way possible. So having a consultant for a complicated roof an engineering beside you is very important. Either a consultant or an OPM or a project manager. It doesn't have to be necessarily an engineer. But for structural, there is no option. You need an engineer.
Thank you, Massi. Yes. Another one. For a two-story concrete block building built in 1972, 10 miles away from the ocean in Palm Beach County, what should a self-managed condo association look for, other than self-inspecting for spalling, sagging, swelling, large cracks, etc., without the need for an engineer, and using just a reputable contractor for such repairs?
Okay, so basically, yeah, I mean, this is a small building, understood. So obviously, when you deal with small buildings, you deal with small budgets, right? So, if you have a trusted contractor that can assist you in identifying issues and can be repaired in a I would say, budget-friendly manner, yes, you can do that. But if you start having sagging slabs or severely spalling columns, the contractor will not be able to help you, because the moment he's going to go and file to the county to do repairs, again, it's going to say, yeah, where are the engineering drawings? And so that you may need an engineer. So it really depends. If you do maintenance items, a little spall here and there, the stucco is peeling off, sealants, like balcony waterproofing, minor stuff that really doesn't touch the structure of the building, you might be able to get away and not hire an engineer, because the county will not require it, and just use your trusted contractor. But if you have structural issues, it's not going to work. The county is going to reject your drawings and is going to say, no, well, first of all, the contractor is not going to do drawings for you. The contractor may suggest, say, oh, I know this engineer, and then maybe he can hire an engineer under him, right? Or, I mean, the best way, well, again, for small buildings, yeah, I mean, it really depends. But I say to you, if it's minor stuff, you don't need an engineer. If it's major structural issues, you need an engineer.
Okie dokie. Another question.
Yeah.
When starting a swimming pool construction project, what engineer should you hire first?
Oh, good question. Hire an OPM. Because the pool is might be multiple trades. You have your pool person, you have your pool company, then you might have some mechanical, and then you have structural, right? Because the pool is concrete. It's made of concrete. If it's an elevated pool, it's made of concrete. Well, even if it's not, it's made of concrete. So you may need an engineer, you may need a pool company, and you may need a mechanical. So my advice is hire an OPM, a project manager or an owner rep.
Okie dokie. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. All right. So we discussed about the milestone inspection. All right. Okay. Threshold inspections. Okay. So I mentioned already. So define what is a threshold building. So when you work on a threshold building, you need a threshold inspector. Okay. So a threshold building has any structure greater than 3 stories or 50 feet in height, or has an assembly occupancy classification that exceeds 5,000 square feet and an occupant content of greater than 500%. Okay. So the latter apply to venues such as churches, gymnasium, and conference centers. So you will need an engineer that is an engineer or an architect that is also a threshold building inspection Okay, just a regular guy is not gonna work. So you will inspect your building structural elements after construction is complete to ensure compliance with the permitted construction documents. So let me make a distinction. So the regular, if you have a threshold building, a regular professional engineer and a regular registered architect can prepare your construction drawings, right? Can prepare all the plans and the specification, and you can bid these things to contractors. But when you go into construction, the county is going to come back to you and say, hey, here is the form. I need a special inspector to inspect your building. So this special inspector will verify that the repairs are done according to the plans. So your EOR or AOR, your original engineer record or architect record, that is not a threshold inspector, it will not be able to inspect the building during construction. You need to hire a second engineer that is a special inspector. So it sounds a little bit to say, oh my gosh, how many engineers do I need? Yeah, technically this is how it works. But to make it simpler, if your building is 4-story high and you know that it's a threshold building, hire from day one an engineer or an architect that is also a threshold inspector. So you kill two pigeons with one bullet, basically. Okay.
Peggy's also raising her hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Steve, do you have any comments thus far on any of this, or what's your thoughts?
I mean, my thoughts are always board members and managers need to, and I think you, Masi, you pointed this out at the very beginning of the presentation. You owe a fiduciary obligation to the building, to the residents, right, and you have an obligation to exercise reasonable and prudent business judgment. So my kind of overarching thought on this whole thing, given that the title is "When do you need an engineer?" I think, like you said, almost any time you're not doing something that's just a minor repair. I mean, any type of construction, right, any type of major structural issues, whether it's just for consulting purposes or to do your 558 construction defect claim when you've gone through turnover, or whether it's to do your milestone and your structural reserves. From a liability standpoint, it is strongly encouraged that you always engage with your professionals, your engineers, when doing these types of projects. And that goes true for anything. It's always important that you engage with your attorneys when dealing with legal issues, your accountants for financial issues, and so forth. So my overarching advice on any of these issues is to protect yourselves. Always rely on your experts. Always go to the engineers for these types of things. Even if it might seem minor, I think it's still recommended that you take advantage of your experts, because that will only help to protect you if things go wrong, because you're engaging with the experts and you're relying on their expertise.
100%, I agree. As a matter of fact, the next topic is turnover inspections, and then after that is 558. So the turnover inspections, Florida Statute 718-301 requires that once a specified number of condominium units are sold to non-developer homeowners, to basically regular people, they are entitled to elect at least a majority of the association board of director seats. When this occurs, the developer must turn over to the association, to the new board, specific documents and records, including a turnover inspection report. So basically, the developer will give you a report, and what is in the report. So the report that describes the condition of the roof, the structure, fireproofing and fire protection systems, elevator, heating and cooling systems, plumbing, electrical systems, swimming pool or spa equipment, seawalls, pavement and parking areas, drainage systems, painting, irrigation systems, and waterproofing. Basically, everything. Every single thing in your building is going to be listed into these turnover inspection reports. So when you board of directors receive this report, you're going to be overwhelmed and say, what? Okay, so this is something that is maybe hundreds of pages, right? So depending on the depth and the details. So yeah, when you do these kind of studies, you do need an engineer, you do need an architect that is familiar with these systems. And basically, usually these things are so the report can be done by the developer, but it can also be done by the board, because the board may not necessarily trust the developer, or maybe the report is lacking some information. So I recommend whenever you receive a report, be very skeptical, have someone in the field that understands this, have a peer review of this report, hire someone, and so he can peer review the report and advise you whether these things are acceptable, and have him doing his own inspection to basically verify what's included in the report provided by the developer, so that you compare apple with apple. So you have your own second opinion, professional opinion, and you can basically go back to the developer and say, sorry, we got some issues here. Okay, we have our own engineers, our own architect that is saying that the structure has some issues, the roof has some issues, and then your consultant will give you a list of items and will give you estimates, will give you everything. And I've done a few of this. Okay, so this is very common in our field. Peggy, you have a question?
Oh, no, sorry. I forgot to take my
It's
hand
okay.
down.
Michelle, do you have a question?
Yes, so it says plumbing. The tree example was very nice, but the reality is that most of the condo documents define the limits of the properties, so the vertical horizontal definition is not always accurate.
Yeah, true. I agree. So that goes a little bit beyond my field, because then you have to go into your bylaws and see what belongs to the unit owner and what belongs to the building. So it's really a legal issue. It's not a technical issue. Right. So I'm going to say, I don't care who pays for it. You got to change it. Then you deal with it. Okay, that's my response. But I'll give you some overview. In the majority of cases, horizontal is unit owner and vertical is condo. Okay. So construction defects. Okay, so this is similar to the other one, right? So basically, you hire, going back to what we just said, you hire your architect or engineers, and then he's going to come up with a list and say, hey, you got some issues here. All right. So basically, Florida Statute 558 offers insights into its purpose, requirements, and implications for those involved in construction-related disputes. So purpose and scope: to promote the early settlement of disputes by mandating a pre-suit notice. Type of construction defects: design defects, material defects, workmanship defects, and subsurface defects. And legal implication or remedies: courts may award damages to cover the cost of repairs, as well as punitive damages from egregious conduct or gross negligence. So again, this is the next step. If you do have issues, structural issues, and you cannot reach an amicable results, you may have to go either do a pre-suit notice, and maybe Stephen can opine more. I'm not an expert on this. Again, I'll do the technical side, and then or you have to litigate, right? So, and construction defects is everything. It can be anything that is not according to plans or according to code can be litigated. All right, and then we have project management. Okay, so the architect or engineer can provide services such as contract management, will provide services such as contract management, which means develop, implement, and review contracts, ensuring that all terms and conditions are met through the project life cycle. Then project oversight: oversee projects from conception to completion. This is the inspection and QA/QC, quality assurance and quality control, managing schedules, resources, and budgets. That goes beyond, because if you say schedule, So basically, we look at the contractor schedule and say, hey, you were supposed to be done here. That's on your schedule, right? And if you don't do that, that's an issue. Compliance, ensure that all contractual obligations are fulfilled and the project adheres to industry regulation standards. Risk management, identify potential risks and implement mitigation strategies. And then supplier relationship management, build and maintain relationship with suppliers, negotiating contracts and managing performance. And financial management, budgeting, cost control, and financial reporting for projects. So, okay, so the architect or engineer can do that, but also PM can do this, okay? The PM can be really, the PM, so if you have multiple trades, hire a PM. Don't do it, don't DIY because it's a nightmare, okay? It's a nightmare. You're not saving any money. Actually, you're going to spend more money than you have to because you don't understand all the trades. So you need an OPM if you have multiple trades. In the event you are only dealing with one trade and the project is simple or is straightforward, you may hire an engineer that will act as a PM as well. So if you have just structural concrete restoration, you may be, we do this all the time, right? So for a lot of concrete restoration, we don't have OPM, but for more complex projects, we do have OPM, right? Because it requires other trades. Maybe it requires electrical, maybe it requires mechanical. So again, this is a case by case. And, we'll be very straightforward as engineers, at least me, because, I like to be honest and say, hey, I've been doing this for many years and I know how it works, right? So if they ask me and say, yeah, for this job, you don't need an OPM, right? This is straightforward concrete restoration. You will provide you all the assistance needed. And we're going to be your eyes and ears. Excuse me? Oh, okay. Okay, we have some issues. Okay. Oh, I hear some noise. Peggy, I think there is an issue with your microphone.
Yes, I got kicked off, so I tried my phone, but I'm trying to turn it off.
Yeah, there is a big echo.
I hear it.
Okay, got it. Okay, all right. So
can I interrupt with another question?
Yeah, sure.
So I have two questions. Can you share whether there is a typical or average cost range for engineering services? Many associations are facing budget constraints, and having a general idea of expected costs can help boards plan and prioritize projects more effectively.
Yeah, that's $1 million question because it really depends on the size. So I'll tell you just very so let's say you have a building, let's say a 10-story building. You will need and your building is 30 years old and needs work. So the first thing you do, you hire an engineer to do an inspection, right? So the engineer is going to come out inside, he's going to look at your building, and he's going to take photographs, he's going to look at structural issues, and he's going to provide you a report with photographs to be distributed to the association and give you a recommendation of repairs. Then you say, oh boy, we have issues. Okay, then the next step is, and that can cost, I don't know, $5,000, $6,000. It depends on how difficult it is, right? If it's a day visit and a good report, you need maybe $5,000, $3,000, $4,000. It really depends, right? Then you need plans. So if you have issues, you need plans. Let's say go back to the 10-story condo buildings. Plans, depending on the scope, can go from 9 to 11 to 12 to 14. It depends how many items. It depends the scope of work. It could be some serious issues. It could be rebuilding some structural elements. So it could be 7, 8. It really depends, right? And then so let's say 4 for the inspection, 8, 9 for the for the construction document. So let's say we are 15, right, or 13, 15. Then you have to do bidding. So then you will need the assistance of your engineer to assist you with bidding, because he's going to have to put specs together and send out to bid, and then you're going to receive 4 bids and you're not going to understand anything. Say, oh, okay, what is that? So the engineer is going to put the bids together. It's going to put a bid leveling sheet, so-called bid leveling sheet, and he's going to explain to you what's every single line items, every single repair items. And that bid on average costs $4,000, right? Those services, because we have to interact with the bidder, we have to interact with you. There is a lot of work. And then there is the construction administration services. So let's say you award once you finish the bid. So let's say now let's go back. We already started investigation, plans and bids. Let's say 20 grand, the 3 services, okay? And then you get the special inspection and construction administration. So special inspection and construction administration varies, right? Depending, it could go to 2,000, 3,000 a week, or even 4,000 a week, depending on the scope of work. So on average, you may spend, to include construction administration. What is construction administration? What do you do? Okay, so we interact with the contractor, we do payment applications, we perform inspection, we perform special inspection, we prepare reports, we'll speak to you, we respond to all your questions, we review change orders, we prepare details for unforeseen conditions. We do a lot of stuff. We interact with the municipalities and respond on your behalf if they have questions. So, and municipalities will require letters, signed and sealed reports. So, on average, construction administration may cost between $10,000 and $15,000 a month. So, let's say you have a 6 months period and everything goes well, you need probably $60,000 in engineering. An average 6 months project may cost you, for a 10-story building, could be 500, 600, 700, it depends. And usually engineering costs about between 10 and 15%, right? This is called soft cost. So let's say you have $1 million restoration project, plan on spending $150K on average, okay? But also, so now, if you hire a project manager, this is going to go up, because the project manager on average costs you 10 grand a month, because the project manager is basically going to do the same things that the engineer does, but instead of dealing just with structure, it's going to deal with everything. So if beside the restoration, you have mechanical issues, pool, plumbing, electrical, okay, you have 6, 7 contracts, you need a PM, right? The PM alone costs you 10 grand. And you can say, oh my God, 10 grand, just a PM, it's a lot of money. It's not. Because if you do it yourself, first of all, you're not going to finish the job. It's going to become a nightmare for your board and for your property managers. The property manager it's not part of his job to deal with contractors, nor the board of directors. So now, if you have a board of directors that is going to be a superhero and say, yeah, I'll handle it, well, it's going to regret it big time, because it's not worth it. It's a full-time job full of people pushing back and thinking that you are cheating, because you say, oh, why is that? So my advice to you is always use the proper professional. Don't cut corners. It's not worth it. And the cost, it is what it is, but at least you get the job done in a proper way. And yeah, that's where we stand. So yeah, so just to conclude here, so how do you select an engineering company or architect? So you need a reputation, company experience, service, the type of service we offer, project management, communication, and budget consideration. Thank you very much. This is the end. This is me, Massimiliano Voto. My number is 786-742-5137. And contact me anytime. I'll respond. I'm good. I always respond. Massimiliano.voto@socotec.us. Okay, so can we wrap this
Thank
up
you.
now?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Masi. I wanted to have a last question.
Yeah.
Is a general contractor qualified as a PM or is it a different background?
Yeah, can do PM. You can
Okay,
do
okay.
PM.
That's
Yeah,
it.
you can do PM. Already.
Thank you so much, Masi, for everything and for the people attending.
Steven, do
Okay.
you want to say anything, or anyone? Peggy, do you want to say anything?
Yes, Stephen first. Did you have any last words before I close it out?
Yeah, I mean, I would just always echo, work with your professionals, don't spare expenses. It's,
Right.
a very wise attorney once told a client of ours, it's much cheaper for us to keep you out of trouble than to get you out of trouble. And I think that theory also applies in engineering as well. Spend a little more
Correct.
upfront to avoid spending a lot at the end and having bigger worries.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to close out. I'm going to say thank you, everyone. Masi, awesome information. It was very understandable. I love these type of presentations. Michelle, good job on moderating and getting those questions in. But the questions are recorded, and we are going to have those available to Masi to respond if you wanted to say anything further to whoever presented the question. I just wanted to remind the managers to please allow 2 weeks for the credits to be posted from Socotec. The other thing is I'm excited to share that this morning I already had an 8 o'clock a.m. meeting with Palm Beach County Emergency Management Team. We're going to start a new thing called Coffee with the County. It's going to be the second Tuesday of
Nice.
every month, and we're going to be introducing community service type information that has to do with your pets and just various things, how to get rid of the raccoons and just community things that homeowner associations will need to stay on top of course. And they call in all the time, apparently. I didn't know this. And I want to do a little bit of a give back from where we are right now with our sponsors included. So look for those dates to come out. There'll be short webinars, 30 minutes to an hour with questions. The other thing is just to let everybody know there's a couple of expos. This Saturday, tomorrow, there is a Condo Fest going on in Palm Beach County at the Embassy Suites, open to board members and managers. Again, great CEU classes being given, great time to network. And then next week on February 10th, there's an expo at the Palm Beach County that everybody should take a walk through or take a look at going to it, especially if you're doing any kind of bidding. Maybe you'll pick up a new opportunity to meet a new vendor because you do need 3 vendors now or 3 proposals on a lot of these things that you're working on. I also have a webinar on February 10th because I am broadcasting all over the state of Florida. It's going to be by the Citizens Bank. I think it's going to be very interesting from 12 to 1:30 if you can make it. If not, and you want a recording, go on and register because I send it out to everybody who actually registers for my webinars. And on Friday, the 13th, we have the second part of a series, the Construction Summit. It's been very well received. Today's was very well received. We had 210 registrants. The Construction Summit last month had over 300. A lot of contracting going on, a lot of construction. So thank you again, Masi. Thank you, board members and CAMs, and everybody have a great weekend. Stay warm, right?
Thank you, everybody. Thank
Bye-bye,
you,
everyone.
Peggy.